Whoa! Costume change. A little bit of a panel change too, but we're going to keep the same little thing as we go off into more and more episodes of this. So I'm going to kick it all off by one thing from my notes. Pikachu! Immortal. What implications be this, pray tell? And of course, I'm talking about Sauron in the first murder scene. But y'all take away the conversation once again.
Oh,
take it away, Jess.
Where to begin with this? Well, since episode 2 is fresh on my mind, yeah, Elrond was really giving it to Galadriel in this one. I'm saying,
wow,
like,
in what
girl, you're the one who gave Sauron all he wanted. And that, I mean, she's such a idiot. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, Elrond was like, at least this time they didn't make him as hateable and just not like Elrond as season 1. At least in this episode, he was pretty based.
Yeah, he's the only one who has sense in this whole thing right now. He's the only one.
He's literally the only good character of the show.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, like seeing how it develops from like after we get the gang murder of Sauron, and then he does his whole Venom thing. Then we get up to modern time, and it's crazy that like the whole tone of everything just seems to be like, oh, well, I mean, maybe he's not that great of a guy, but we're still gonna just do what he wants to do. It's very odd. Or wait, was that?
That's season 1. That's episode 1, I think.
That's episode 1. We binged them all at once. It's hard to remember what thing happened in what episode because the show's all over the place, and I didn't take notes.
They certainly all like blur together.
Yeah,
like there's some things that I thought happened in the first one, but happened in the second one, and so forth. And I was just,
Bro, we are not taking this sequentially. We are just talking about it. Whatever hits your interest, go ahead and just yap on about it.
All right, then I'll say this. Whenever she starts talking to the High King and he goes, so what's the deal? And she just starts lying to him. She's like, well, he's not who we thought he was. And then just continues to like not tell everybody, oh yeah, this is the devil, basically. She's just like, he's just not who we thought he was. And like, I don't know. I can't tell you anymore. Like, what a weird way for somebody who's supposed to be Galadriel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is not Galadriel.
This is not Galadriel. Because she just betrayed all of the elves and all of Middle Earth.
And no consequences.
None whatsoever.
That's the, like, if they sent her to the dungeons or whatever the elves have or whatever. But no, it's like, oh, how dare you? But okay, let's do this thing. Like,
anyway, I trust you again. I know you lied to me, and now that I've got the truth, I will trust you.
What about her little hallucination where she's talking to Celebrimbor and he comes out and he's like, oh, I met this interesting person, and then all of a sudden these vines come out and they like grab him,
it went straight,
and it turns red, and then
impales everyone, like, yeah.
But then like when she's going like, oh, and I was like, girl, is this your date with Sauron?
No, and it was here in the dream sequence, right, where they repurposed the line from Lord of the Rings, right?
Yes, like they actually repeated the
exactly
3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 to the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die.
Wait! But it was also, no, we can't make any rings for men because they'll be corrupted. Like, oh, okay. Thank you for laying out the entire story for us in your one little line of no, you can't give them to the men.
Mhm.
Oh, golly.
I hate this show so much.
It's so
No.
bad.
It's just that here's the thing. The world building for Tolkien is so like detailed and
Intricate,
so and so like
vast.
vast.
Yes.
It's very difficult to grab from where what they do here fucks everything up because it's just everything is wrong. But the more you go back, is like, okay, here, no, it affects this. Okay, but if I go back, it also affects this, and it also affects that, and it affects this over here, and it affects that. So it's like, this is not anywhere. Like the fact that we seen the trailers based on Tolkien is like, it's so disrespectful. It's like
It is. The timeline in this is just all over the place. You have no idea where you are. You don't know how many days have passed. It's just impossible to even.
Yeah, because like the whole point of the Lord of the Rings is that they're going from point A to B. It's a really long journey where anything can happen. Like that's the point of the 3 books, and here, well, going back to the first episode with Blob Sauron, is we know that time happened because we know the story, but if not, it's like, what, this happened, what, like yesterday, what happened? And then last season finished with them looking at the rings they created, and I don't know what stream they mentioned it, but that we start with Galadriel chasing Elrond, and has she been chasing him since leaving the forge? It's like it's days long. What the heck?
Yeah, there's no concept of time at all. It's even, like we talked about previously with whenever Sauron is the black goo and you have the stalagmites that are growing. If you're not paying attention and you don't notice those, you don't notice it's been thousands of years since Sauron was murdered by the orcs. But I don't know. His first reaction is to go back to the orcs immediately. It's so weird. It makes no sense.
It's like he hit the restart button on his Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's basically.
Let's try it the same way again. Maybe this time I won't die. Maybe this time I'll make the right decision in the game.
Yeah, well, speaking of the right decision, I have the second episode up because I don't remember. Like you said, like everything's blurred. And I remember, like, okay, Elrond jumped from the water. No, jumped, from the waterfall. The cliff. And then it's nighttime, so we imagine, because we don't know, that a few hours passed. And suddenly, when they ask Galadriel again, like, where could he be? Or she's like, no, he lives. I know he lives. And suddenly she has every single idea of
suddenly
where...
she knows. Oh, he's gonna go to somebody wise, and it's like, oh,
yeah, the wise isn't the oldest. Oh, well, there's only one person who that could be. So why are you just thinking about that now?
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
Instead of doing a pre-warning thing where, like, you would expect her to, I don't know, be able to prepare everybody, and she just doesn't. She just doesn't care. It's so it's not Tolkien.
Yeah, also with the fact that it is like we haven't found him, so they were preparing for him being dead, and it's like, no, he lives. I know he lives. Like a little bit more emotion. I don't know, maybe she could have been trying to look for him.
No, the problem is she can't act. So you're placing way too many expectations on her.
I was literally about to say, it's like, you are thinking way too hard about this absolute nonsense.
honestly.
Trying
Which is
to-
why I take the opposite route, where I'm just like shitting on everything and trying to find ways to make myself laugh. We all know
Well-
it's not Tolkien. We all know it never was going to be. And if we get too crazy about it and nitpicky, Jess, I know that's your job, but I feel like for me personally, if I were to get too nitpicky, I would yank my luscious long locks out.
I'm amazed I haven't yet. Honestly.
Okay,
I'm
so
amazed I haven't pulled all my hair out.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well cosplay for the new Beetlejuice movie while you're at it. This is perfect.
Oh my goodness.
Lord.
What'd you want to say, Hayden?
well, I was just gonna say, like, with the way that this show is, it kind of like sets stuff up and tries to bring in these little member berries. I think to anybody who's an actual Tolkien fan, it's not something that we want to hear. I don't want to hear them say this rings of power or do all of these little it's like I said last time, the Elrond jumping off and like his mother had done something similar with the
Yes, it is.
Cimmerels. Like,
Mm.
we don't want these member berries. What we want is a story to, even if you're not going to stick 100% to what the original story is supposed to be, like, it's understandable you'd have to change a couple of things around because you're fleshing out the appendices, right? But you need to stick to the things that actually happened. You can't just make up your own shit because then you just kill the characters. Like,
Yeah.
you kill everything they stood for. Over these people were alive for thousands of years because we're following the story of the elves, and you're murdering them basically day one.
Yeah. Well, basically, I think originally what I've heard what they were going to do is they're just going to take like the different stories in the appendices and just like do those, but like they would be each separate stories. And they easily could have done that without all the, like characters that we know. It could have been like ones that some people don't know, and it probably, but I don't know. I mean, either way,
No.
they would have screwed it up. So it's like, what's the
No,
point?
and going back to what Hayden said, I mean, the Lord of the Rings trilogy was changed. It wasn't
It was,
100%, and that's the criticism that a lot of like Tolkien fans have. That the characters were missing. Arwen was not in it, but
Yeah, she
but
literally
they-
was not in it until the end of the book.
yeah, but the heart of the story of the characters was still being respected. So it's an incredible movie, and we make you can change things because of how long it is or how complex it is or whatever, as long as again the heart stays the same. And here they're changing
true.
absolutely everything, and it's not nobody has like Tolkien heart or whatever.
It's just Tumblr fan fiction. That's all this is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, you see with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, not only did they, most of them, and especially getting Christopher Lee, who wanted to play Gandalf, but he ended up being Saruman. He read the Lord of the Rings trilogy once per year for like, 30 or 40 years straight?
Yeah.
Like, they hired a lot of people, the actors themselves, who were extremely knowledgeable about the source material. So everyone could check Peter Jackson. Because with book to movie adaptations, you do have to change things in order to fit a different narrative. I think that's why Tolkien didn't want it, or the Tolkien estate didn't want it put into movie form in the beginning. He was like, it's unfilmable. This will never work as a movie if you strictly adapt it. So it needed someone to keep the heart and soul of it, and then other people for checks and balances along the way. And Peter was really good about hiring people who knew about that. So they could write different scripts, so they could change lines, and they could change the way they act. It's like, no, this is more within line of what's going on during this certain scene.
Yeah.
There's none of that here.
No.
These people think Tolkien was all about diversity, representation, and, golly, all kinds of other stuff that he had no idea. Like he had ideas about it, but he didn't give a crap. It was all an allegory for World War One. All the crap, the industrialization and the machines of war,
Which he
what he
hated.
experienced, and why his love for trees, because that's the only thing green. Because when he was in the trenches, there was nothing green. It was all just demolished down into the ground. It was muddy, gray, bleak,
muddy.
bloody, and everything.
Yeah.
And
Bodies everywhere. It was horrible. Okay, can we talk a bit about when it cuts to the Easterlings? When we meet the Dark Wizard.
If you say, can we talk a boot?
Can we talk a boot?
Let's go.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Oh,
Shady's back.
Some ladies back.
I detest the Harfoots. There is nothing endearing about them. I just can't. I don't know if it's the acting, I don't know what it is, but it's something that when they show up, I'm like, ugh, can we skip?
I clapped and cheered when they were blown away by the giant dust devil, as we call it here in Arizona.
Yeah, we're like, yeah,
dust devils.
I feel like they're those people who are trying to sit at the adults table for the first time at a family reunion, but they chew with their mouth open while they're talking.
Yes.
Like that's kind of like their acting range.
Well, it's also the vibes they give off, because I can't remember who it was in our watch party that said it, but they haven't invented cleaning shit out of their hair yet.
Yeah. Yeah, when they're looking for food
and they have olives in their hair for some reason.
Sophie, you're the one who said, why can't they just eat the things in their hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's shit caked.
It's so disgusting, honestly.
Cue Radagast, because yet another thing they'll bring back from the Hobbit trilogy from Peter Jackson. Radagast will probably make an appearance in this thing, and it will be shit caked, and he'll be like the Lord of the Harfoots or something like that.
What? No, like the Black Wizard is Radagast, like the fat man in his throne.
Some people think this Dark Wizard might be like they're thinking it's one of the Witch Kings, but he's in the complete wrong place.
Yeah,
no.
The Witch
King
was men.
I know it
right?
can't be.
Yeah,
yeah,
they were Numenorian men.
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the 9 were Numenorians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Speaking of Numenorians, Isildur is a freaking poof.
Yeah.
Oh,
he does not salute. He's got 45 degrees on that wrist. No, and he's supposed to be the bloodline of kings. Are you serious?
That's also another time frame that is not clear, and it's very important because the horse is the best character in the show, hands down. Goes, finds him in
repurposed scene.
Yeah, from Aragorn.
The horseman to go find Aragorn.
But also it's like they go into the dark forest, so this already has a name because it's a dark forest from the ashes of things, and already has a name. And you can see the horse like just walking for a long time, goes into this cave, finds Isildur, who is still pretty well, so it's not like he's been starving or anything. So it has to be a day or two at most, since the volcano thing from season 1.
Is crazy to think about.
Yeah, and also that first it didn't make sense, and also didn't make sense that since 1 or 2, 3 max days, Shelob also who appears.
Yeah, baby Shelob.
Yeah, has this whole hive already or nest. It's like, what is or was she already living there right next to the village but never interacting? It makes no sense.
Jess, there's actually a question I want to ask you. Without looking it up, or if anyone else has the knowledge, there was a scene where someone's in the dead marshes and about to drink of the water. I thought the dead marshes were there because of the Battle of the Fields of Pelennor when Sauron's hand was cut off and the ring was cut.
I thought too.
That's what that well was. But not so in this show. Now, I could be completely wrong, but the
No,
dead
it is.
marshes exist in this show.
Yeah.
No. Well, it's a kind of a repurposed scene because there weren't that many elves who died in season 1. So it's just like, remember the marshes, remember.
But I thought I think like Malty's saying, I thought the marshes got created whenever Isildur cut the ring from the hand. So
Yeah.
those marshes don't like the marshes exist, but the bodies and the fact that it's like a poisoned, cursed place doesn't exist until we get to the point that Isildur takes the One Ring, which hasn't even been made yet. The only rings that have been made are the rings for the Elven Kings.
Which, okay, let's talk about those rings, the Elven rings for a minute here. In this show, they're treating them like they're like the One Ring, and they are not. They're based off elements.
They're supposed to be good. The rings were a good thing that was made. The problem was that Sauron manipulated Celebrimbor into making one more ring.
Yeah, Celebrimbor actually made these rings on his own, like the 3 Elven rings. He didn't have anybody help, and he just went, "Oh, I'm just going to make these," and he did.
Because also the Elven rings. Didn't Gandalf have one of them in the end?
I don't think
not
so.
The Elven. No, I don't think.
No, that's a Maiar ring. That's not one of the rings of power.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next, I was going to say I don't remember him having a ring.
No, because I had a flashback of and he took a ring he had. I'm like, wait, I don't know if Galadriel gave him that, or I don't remember. It was something. He had a ring, but I don't know from where.
He did have a ring, but it had nothing to do with. It had nothing to do with those.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the One Ring was the one that was able to corrupt other rings if the people were susceptible to corruption. Yes. Where the elves held off against it, but in this show they just treat the rings like they're terrible things, but that's what saved them and allowed them to stay in Middle Earth. Like it was a good thing to make the rings.
Yeah. Well, the One Ring, the corruption, is based off of shell shock, or PTSD as it's known now, from the First World War, because literally the men after that war, like they would see things that they would hallucinate, and they would have episodes, and like what happens with Frodo in the film, and even like in the book as it's described in the book, like literally they like almost like black out, and they have no idea what.
Yeah, or have bouts of aggression.
To sit there, and to sit there and use these Elven rings and act like they're the One Ring, and they're like, oh, and then that whole spiel that Círdan went on with Elrond saying, oh, but we can't be afraid of it. It's beautiful, even though it has all this power. You should just take it. And it's like, excuse me, and that's kind of going against what Gandalf was saying about having the rings and being like, if I had this, even if it was for good, I would become a tyrant. So I'm not gonna. I ain't taking that ring.
Well,
so
but again,
what the hell is this?
That was based on the One Ring that was formed out of corruption and malice, not the other rings that were made to maintain Middle Earth. That's why
this show is so stupid. It's like, seriously? You think the Elven rings are the evil rings that corrupt people? No.
And they're trying to show it in this show as well, that the rings are already speaking, calling out for people to get.
Those rings don't call out. It's just
exactly
the
they
ring.
don't. It's
and they needed mithril also. They needed mithril to be made, because if not, they wouldn't be special.
Need an origin story for it. They needed to have this origin story, guys.
Yeah, because how are they magic, and how did they suddenly cure nature? Basically, that was also like, wait, I've been following this and I know the story, but what happened? It's like, bing, like a Reparo from Harry Potter, just like.
Reparo, all fixed.
Sophie, of all people, like speaking the language that you natively do, you are not pronouncing things correctly. It's mithril.
Mithril.
Come on, girl, say it right.
The One Ring.
It's like the freaking motorcyclist on that South Park episode. That was their vocal coach.
Celebrimbor.
Get out of here.
Like freaking Treebeard to them.
I don't know what the like goal was to have everybody roll all of their R's every time they say. What accent is that? Because they sound English,
I
but they
don't
talk
know.
like I don't know. They're from Spain
It's like
or Portugal
it's
or
like
something.
They wanted it to sound exotic. Like, oh, this is how it sounds. It
Oh,
sounds
well-
so exotic when we roll our R's. So it's like, oh yes, look at
Uh-huh.
us.
Speaking
No,
of that,
stupid.
like just the acting is so bad, the dialogue is so bad that they just sound stupid. Because if you remember,
We sound
uh,
flat.
yeah, if you just remember, like I don't know, Arwen talking or Elrond,
The
what's the
Elvish.
actor's name?
The Elvish.
Hewing?
Oh my
no.
god. Yeah.
Hugo
What's the
Weaving.
actor's? Yeah, him.
He's a stage actor.
Yeah, but they it's like normal. I don't know. They exude grace and
And they actually look elvish, unlike the people that they pick to be elves in the show, who just look like ordinary people.
Whenever they do that
Yeah.
shot where they take the rings and they turn and look at all the rest of the elves, and it's just like, what happened to all of the diverse elves? Why are they not in during the Third Age? Was there some kind of ethnic
Catastrophe.
battle or something that happened? Because those people have completely disappeared.
Yeah. And
No,
they're
and
not
also-
all tall and graceful. They're all short and dumpy looking.
Yes.
Yeah,
But Jess, I remember whenever we were watching it, you were very upset about the Elvish that they were speaking. That was like, I don't know,
Butchered.
some kind of precursor to Elvish or something, because that it wasn't.
Butchered.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny how Galadriel speaks this butchered Elvish, and then the High King Gil-galad speaks English back to her. It's like,
Yes.
what?
The one who would have just spoken Elvish.
Yeah.
I actually,
Back?
I have this in my notes too. I was like, why are they speaking Cinder into each other in front of other elves? Like everyone can understand everything they're saying. It's not like that. It's not like that scene in Two Towers where
Yes.
Aragorn and Legolas are talking
Are
in front
talking.
of the scared people of Rohan.
Yep.
We'll speak a
Talking
different
about how they're
language,
doomed.
so yeah, they're doomed. It's like, look at them, like they're not going to survive.
Yeah.
Why do they just pull that shit out of their assholes in the middle of people who already understand that language?
It's so
Yeah.
stupid.
But
But it doesn't even sound like the language. Is like I said, it sounds like a butchered horror. I don't even freaking know what it is. It's not even the black speech sounds.
Black
butchered.
speech sounds awful.
Oh, that was
too.
not black speech.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's just not.
But
No,
and that's the
speaking
thing.
of,
There
now
are
speaking of-
people who just real quick, there are people who are big fans of the Lord of the Rings that have learned to speak Elvish, learned to speak
right.
black speech, because it's an
Yeah.
actual language written
Yeah.
by a linguist, and these people
Yes.
obviously didn't. They're just making up weird sounds and shit and trying
Yeah.
to call it something that is an actual language that was developed by an Oxford professor,
yes,
and thinking nobody will catch it.
yeah.
No, and that speaking about that, it just pisses me so much when you see these like the interviews or the news articles are like, oh yeah, the story that Tolkien couldn't tell or didn't tell or should have told, and it's like, bitch, please, like, can you have a little bit more respect? Like, it's the arrogance to think that they understand Tolkien or they could read his mind to a point where they could make a story that he hypothetically wanted to tell is so stupid.
I know, really.